So what we want to start now, we've got about 20 minutes left here in the panel, and we're going to do a Q&A section. And you were first, I think.
What do you guys think of James Randi and his contest that if anyone can prove anything supernatural, they'll give them $1 million? He's been doing it for 40 years.
Again, the question was, is it James Randi? Has a contest that if you can prove anything supernatural, they'll give you $1 million, and the contest has been going on for 40 years.
Yeah. And he's gradually increased the increment of money, and repeatedly people have failed.
Okay, if you guys are familiar with that, give it a shot.
You know, there's tons of mediums. Wow. Okay, there's tons of people out there who want to test specifically mediums, especially, or psychics or whatever. And the problem with tests like that, to me, is that having a background in like behavioral sciences research, I understand that there's a certain procedure when something is considered a hard science, and even you know, social psychology, sociology, things like that are still considered soft sciences, because you cannot create an experiment. A true experiment has a variable that can be manipulated and a variable that is a control, and it can be replicated. Another principle of the scientific method is you can't ever prove or disprove something. You can only get evidence that something is true or is not true. So I sort of, maybe this is just semantics and me like poking at words, but I think that the idea of, you know, you need to prove that this exists is a little false given the parameters of scientific investigation. And ultimately, right now, ghost hunting is a pseudoscience because we cannot create that true experiment. We can't ever really call ourselves scientific. Currently, our level of thinking is really ahead of where we're at technologically and able to measure these things. And so until then, like, I always say this, but we are pretty much just like running around like idiots in the dark, like chickens with our head cut off with a bunch of little beepy flashy equipment, because not one tool that we use to investigate the paranormal is any more reliable than any other. Which is sort of my philosophy with arms, is that, you know, if everything is equally unreliable, why not use everything, no matter whether or not you agree with it or think it's ridiculous or whatever. We've used Ouija boards in our investigation. We've, you know, gone all those different routes, because if everything is unreliable, then, you know. So as far as the tests go, James Randi, there's another guy that I can think of, and I can't think of his name, but he, you know, he's contacted me personally, and his idea of a test is to have me go and talk to his, like, dead Uncle Jerry, and, like, you know, if I pick up on a dead Uncle Jerry's fishing hobby, then all of a sudden I'm legit, and I'm kind of like, all right, well, it would be super, but it doesn't really work that way. You can't really just dial up a dead person. If you could, there'd be no such thing as an unsolved homicide. There's some people I could think of that I want to hang out with. You know, bind them to my house and make them watch TV with me. So, you know, unfortunately, it's sort of inherently flawed, and so people tend to get really uppity and be like, well, I'm going to prove you wrong, and you're delusional. One of my biggest points that I make in the classes that I teach is that reality is subjective, and therefore you can't really say, like, your experience of reality is different than mine, therefore yours is less valid. And I think that's sort of the problem with these tests, too, is that everybody experiences reality differently. Eyewitness testimony in court, for example, is really unreliable because 50 people will witness the same event, and each person will have a different explanation of what happened. So really, I think that until we get the opportunity to get technology that can accurately measure the paranormal or paranormal phenomena, none of that really holds any water to me any more than, you know, people who say that they're the incarnation of Jesus.
Well,
I'm who do I say they're not, you know?
He did the medium testing, was he'd bring in a group of people, or one person at a time, and he'd have them sit there, and the medium would try whatever the mediums let them figure out something about that person, or a event, or a dead person in their family, and they didn't even get a single thing right.
Yeah, that's difficult, because another thing is the idea of confirmation bias, and I think it operates both ways. Confirmation bias is sort of like you think a certain thing, and therefore pretty much anything anybody tells you, you're only going to hear the parts selectively that support your theory. So even if you're going into it like, I'm a skeptic and this person is wrong and I'm going to prove this person wrong, you're more apt to listen for information that doesn't match what you were hoping for, what you were expecting. So another thing is all the mediums that I've ever met and psychics, everybody's ability operates very differently. Some people are able to pick up, you know, current information on a person, more like psychic impressions. Some people, more like me, just sort of talk to dead people that are hanging out.
Well, if you test each person individually on their strengths and weaknesses, and they can't even prove that they're correct.
Yeah, it's hard. I just ultimately I think the whole thing is sketchy on the medium side and on the skeptic side. So I think like none of us really know what we're doing. We're all just sort of pretending like we do.
Go ahead.
I have a question, but the reason why I have this question, I have to tell you very briefly. A long time ago, I went to go see the Titanic exhibit years ago, and I felt very angry because I got the impression that the people who had died was embarrassed that people had their clothes and people were looking at it and that their undergarments and their personal items. And I didn't understand why they had these things on display. It didn't make me a better person, and it didn't make them better people. And when I see things like that, it makes me wonder, what is this? Is this a parallel universe? Why are they there? And I just wanted to know what you guys thought about that. Is it an afterlife? Are we the afterlife, or how does that work?
Good question.
And how would they feel? How would they feel?
Let's get a couple of different opinions on that one. I'm sure everyone has one.
That's exactly why I do the ghost hunting. I want to know if my grandmother is a ghost. I want to know if she moved on to the next level. You know, I want to know what is out there. I've had experiences with supernatural things. I want explanations. I want to start to figure this stuff out. I don't know why we haven't ever tried to figure some of these things out, and I don't know if a ghost is the right name for it. I don't know what it would be, and that's why I'm involved in the investigations, period.
Well, you know, I mean, that's a question that everyone has been asking for many years now. What's beyond this? You know.
No, my question is not what's beyond it, but
yeah,
the whole. What do you think we are and they are, and do you think they're happy? Are they happier than us, or they just seem pretty miserable?
Yeah, but like, you know, it's like she was saying earlier. You know, we can't just call them up and ask them. You know, unfortunately, we don't have answers to those questions exactly as to what everyone wants to know.
I just like
that. Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, I'm just saying that's why it's so hard to tell. I mean, but my opinion is, you know, there is stuff that does happen, and I've dealt with some personal experiences myself, and I know that they are somewhere, but as to where they are, I don't know. I couldn't really tell you that.
Did you say it's a human soul?
I don't know.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing is the supernatural behavior, is it from someone or something that once was human, that once lived and walked in our lives, or is it you know, it could be anything at this point. We don't have any evidence towards anything. So that's my biggest investigation is this someone's soul? Are they really a ghost? And if so, are they miserable? Is this a life?